James Carter was taking his usual evening walk that night. The city was beginning to quiet down, with only the sound of passing cars and the distant barking of dogs. He had worked extra hours at the construction company for the past few days, and he was tired. The air was a little chilly. As he walked toward home after picking up a few things from the market, he suddenly heard the sirens of police cars. The blue lights flashed behind him. When he turned around, two officers quickly approached him. Without understanding what was happening, he suddenly found himself thrown to the ground and handcuffed. "What's going on? I didn't do anything wrong," he shouted as his hands were cuffed behind his back. But the police officers, without saying a word, pulled a bag from his pocket. Inside was a white powder, which they quickly labeled as cocaine. James protested, but no one was listening. That night, everything changed. The media quickly picked up the story, painting him as a dangerous criminal, a drug dealer, and even a murder suspect. But James was just trying to go home. Suddenly, everything had been turned upside down. When the trial day arrived, the evidence presented against him was so overwhelming that his defense was ignored. A witness had identified him, and the gun had his fingerprints on it. The media had already created an image of him as guilty, and in the courtroom, no one bothered to question the verdict. Everything was decided. James was sentenced to life in prison for a crime he didn't commit. The first few years in prison were nothing short of hell. Every day he faced ridicule and insults from the other inmates. He often wondered, "What am I even living for?" He felt mentally exhausted. But one day, he discovered the prison library. Books became a piece of the world he had once dreamed about. He started reading law books, trying to understand the legal system. "One day someone will believe me," he thought. He wasn't sure how, but he was determined. 4 years later, one day, he received an unexpected phone call. The prison warden summoned him to the visitation room. There, he met a young lawyer, Sophia Lane. She was a Harvard graduate, a rising star in the legal world, known for her work with prestigious law firms. At first, James couldn't understand why she would be interested in his case. No one had cared about him for years. But Sophia, with determination in her eyes, said, "James, I believe you. I believe your story is true." That was when hope began to spark inside him. Slowly, he started trusting her. Sophia decided to reopen James's case. By that time, everyone had accepted that the evidence pointed to his guilt. Proving his innocence seemed impossible. But Sophia, after reviewing the case, started noticing several inconsistencies. The witness statements were contradictory, the reports were incomplete, and security footage from the night in question had mysteriously vanished. Some of the evidence had clearly been manipulated. Sophia continued her investigation, patiently collecting new evidence. One day, she discovered something strange in an old police report. The murder weapon serial number matched that of a defense industry company. That company was connected to her father's business. Sophia immediately launched a deeper investigation. She found that the gun had come from her father's company. This discovery revealed that something was terribly wrong with the case. Sophia confronted her father. What he told her shocked her. He admitted that to protect the reputation of his defense industry company, James had to be framed. It was all part of a larger plan to cover up the truth. Sophia, despite the devastating revelation about her father, decided to fight for James's innocence. She confronted him, and he responded coldly. "Sophia, this is how things work. James's life is a small detail in our larger picture." Her father's indifferent words shattered the trust she had in him. But one thing was clear. The truth about James's innocence had to come out. Sophia, with resolve, decided to reopen the case and fight for justice. She spent years gathering evidence, finding missing security footage, and bringing together all the pieces of the puzzle. Finally, after several years of hard work, Sophia succeeded. In court, it was revealed that James was innocent, and all the evidence against him had been manipulated. In that moment, James, who had spent so many years fighting for his freedom, felt a mix of rage and relief. But one thing was certain. The truth had won. As the verdict was read aloud in the courtroom, James felt an overwhelming sense of lightness. He had been freed, but he also realized that he had lost 10 years of his life in prison. Walking out of the prison gates, freedom felt different to him. It wasn't just the walls and bars that had held him captive. It was also the lost time. As he stepped into the sunlight, he felt a deep sadness, but also a flicker of hope. Sophia was by his side, and as they walked together, James thanked her simply. "Thank you," he said. But Sophia, with a soft smile, replied, "I didn't do it for you, James. I did it for everyone." At that moment, James understood. It wasn't just about proving his innocence. Sometimes, fighting for justice is about changing the system, changing people, and ultimately changing the course of history.